very patient here. I'd like to hold off for a little bit longer to give those who may be delayed by the weather, go figure, a couple more minutes. So if you can just be patient, finish with your beverage, use the head, whatever you need to do, and we'll get started in just a couple minutes. So I wanted to consider whether give everybody a chance to catch up. I want to welcome all of you tonight. I think you guys have a sense of humor. You got notice that there are emergency vehicles down on Chandler Road because there are car problems and water problems there in the bathroom. But we are really thankful that you were able to get out and join us tonight. Although the notice for this meeting may be only 2 months old, in fact, we've been planning this meeting for nearly a year, and this weather has taken us a little bit in the knees. So we're really very thankful that you're here. A couple of comments here before we get really rolling. On the website was listed the rules for the meeting. There are copies back on the table for when you first came in. So essentially what we had the last time we had a meeting a year ago. So we're going to be following pretty much the same protocol. I want to make one or two comments though for you. You see we have a podium here. And so for those people who are making presentations, we would like you to come forward and use the podium so that you'll be able to be up front so everybody can see you. And I, who have some hearing problems, visual is very important to my hearing. So maybe some of you are the same way. But there's also a microphone, and that will make it a little bit easier for each of us to be able to hear you. So please do come up. And when you do, please tell us your name and your address, and spell for us, please, your name. Because our court reporter, who is taking all of this down for posterity, wants to make sure that your name is taken correctly. The other thing is that, like maybe many of you, I have a building, my office, that's under about 6 inches of water in the basement. So I have my cell phone here. The ringer is off, and I told anybody who wants to reach me to send me a text message. So I'm going to ask that you also turn off your ringer and tell anybody who wants to reach you to do it by text messages if at all possible. But tonight is not a night that we want to have communications closed down. So I'm going to try to be patient on that issue, and hopefully you'll be patient with us on that issue. The communications are important, but we also have to be respectful of each other, that we're not being interrupted by ringing and telephone calls. So let me take a moment here and make sure that you know who is here. Hopefully you all know Lisa Moore, who is our township secretary and manager and a whole lot of other things. Most of all, she's indispensable. So I'm very happy to have her on our right side. We also have Rich Leff and Bob Hamaker, who you all know. And you are getting to know David Saunders, who is legal counsel, who's sitting down here. And then we have a bevy of engineers. Is there a collective term for engineers? I'm not sure what it is. See if I have the order correct. Tom Wilkes is the engineer that we work with on a day-to-day basis. The name of the firm, by the way, is, as you can see on the slide from the projector, is Rivington, Vernick, and Beach Engineers. They're all with that firm. So we have Tom Wilkes, and we have Jessica Hubbard, and we have Frank Seeley. Seeley? That's right. Good. And they're going to be making a presentation for us in a couple of minutes to get the discussion going. So, I'm going to have a couple of introductory comments here. The Chandler Mill Bridge was constructed in 1910 and is owned by the County of Chester. The bridge is on the National Register of Historic Places, and Chandler Mill Road itself is a township road. Currently, the county is in the process of engineering a new two-lane bridge to replace the one-lane bridge currently in place due to deterioration of the bridge, which was revealed during an inspection in 2011. Since 2011, the bridge has been closed by the county to vehicular traffic. Now, as many of you may recall, prior to our township meeting, there was a county-called meeting in the early half of last year, and that was part of the process for going forward in being able to get approval by getting community input. And that process has been ongoing. I have not heard when it's going to be concluded, but it could be as long as 5 years if things are not otherwise resolved. 5 years before a decision approved by the feds and by the state, which would allow us to go forward. So I want you to remember that 5-year potentiality as we have our discussion tonight about what our options are. Over the years, numerous residents have expressed a desire for the township to take ownership of the bridge from the county so that the bridge can remain as a one-lane historic bridge. Some residents expressed their desire to create a pedestrian bridge and leave the bridge closed, rehab the bridge as a one-lane bridge as presently in place, and other various ideas for the bridge. One group of residents has made a tentative offer of open space land if linked to a bridge rehab. Others suggest that grant money is available to fund a rehab. Clearly, there are many options and considerations to weigh. The Board of Supervisors discussed these options with the county in June of 2013. At that time, the county told the supervisors, in order for the county to consider giving the bridge to the township, and the supervisors must get the consensus of all the residents of the township as to what they want done with the bridge. Recently, the county suggested that it would give the township the bridge if we requested it. If the supervisors do not ask to take over the bridge, the county will continue to engineer and construct a two-lane bridge to replace the existing bridge. In February of 2014, the supervisors directed the township engineer to do a feasibility study listing all available options for the bridge, which was done. Tonight we will discuss those options and listen to input from all interested parties, including emergency service providers. And on that note, I want to also comment that the fire chief for Kennett Fire Company wants to make a presentation. And unfortunately, he's out overlooking problems that are going on even as we sit here. When he comes in, I'm going to interrupt whatever is going on and allow him to present. And then we'll get back to the business that we already started. I want him not to be delayed. Areas of interest to me were itemized in the postcard each resident of the township received. Let me review those with you. Cost to rehab or replace the bridge, impact on traffic, safety, and historic designation, land use consequences, time projections, and grant money available under all scenarios for the township engineer's proposal. Questions regarding road widening, legal implications if we do or do not take ownership of the bridge, open space and public use changes along Chandler Mill and Bucktoe Roads, and input from emergency service providers and school transportation providers. While I don't want to limit any part of this presentation tonight, I am hopeful that the presentations, the statements, and questions will all in some way relate to at least those concerns that I just reread for you. So, with all of that as preamble, let us first turn to the township engineers to outline the problems and the options available for our consideration regarding Chandler Mill Bridge. And to that end, I'm going to look to Jessica Hobler to lead this part of the discussion.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Hauber, and I am a design engineer representing the engineer. I'm here tonight to present to you our feasibility study for the rehabilitation of Chandler.
We can't hear you.
Bring your,
Jessica, can you pull the microphone a little closer to you?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm here tonight to present to you our feasibility study for the rehabilitation of Chandler Mill Road Bridge. We were retained by Kennett Township to study and analyze options for the rehabilitation or replacement of the existing Chandler Mill Road Bridge for safe movement of vehicular traffic and or pedestrian traffic. Our goal is to provide the township with the best options that meet current bridge standards and will ensure the safety of the traveling public. All of the options work to preserve the historical integrity of the existing bridge, as it is understood that it is a major issue with the township and the public. However, some components of our options may need to change in the future to comply with the Bureau for Historic Preservation. We are not making a recommendation tonight. We are supplying you with background options and cost estimates for each option. I would like to point out that no design work has been done for this study. All sketches are for illustration purposes only. Changes may have to be made for regulatory requirements or federal or state funding and costs. As was previously mentioned, the existing bridge was built in 1910. It's a one-lane steel three-girder bridge with rubble and stone masonry with wing walls and abutments. There's a one-lane steel three-girder bridge with rubble and stone masonry, abutments, and wing walls. It was closed to traffic on May 6, 2011 due to deteriorating conditions. It was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in January 2010. As I said, the bridge is in poor condition with ongoing deterioration and limited load carrying capacity. It is currently owned by Chandler County. Part of our feasibility study, we performed a limited visual field investigation of the bridge, roadway, and surrounding area. The concrete bridge deck is in fair condition. The tap is not visible as it is overlaid with a bituminous land surface. Underneath the bridge deck, it contains 5 cracks with water leaking through, as well as falls and lamination. You can see from the picture, the floor beams are also in poor condition with corroded and rusted members. This is a picture of underneath the bridge of one of the abutments, which is also in poor condition. There are many cracks in the mortar and voids behind the bridge. This is a picture of the wing wall. You can see there's a lot of shear cracks and random minor cracks and missing mortar throughout, and that's typical of all the wing walls. The channel itself is also in poor condition as it has heavy scour upstream of the bridge. Also, flooding is an issue as the bridge overtopped in September 2003 and 2011, causing some damage to the approaches. Chandler Mill Road is a 35 mile per hour two-lane road. It's 18 foot wide and it has an average daily traffic of 691 cars. The existing bridge is 15.9 feet wide, and is narrower than the approaching road. Tonight we are presenting 5 options for the rehabilitation of Chandler Mill Road. Option 1 is a full replacement option, replacing the existing bridge with a 1-lane vehicle bridge. Along with the new 1-lane bridge, Chandler Mill Road must be converted to a 1-way road between Buck Hill Road and Round Hill Road due to the average daily traffic of the road. This bridge would be replaced with a single-span multi-girder bridge with concrete abutments and wing walls. With this option, we plan to reuse the existing girders on the outside for aesthetic purposes only, to keep the historical element, and also a stone facade can be added to the abutments and wing walls to mimic the look of the existing bridge. To be seen for PennDOT, the minimum curb-to-curb width of the bridge should be 4 feet wider in the approach for new bridges. This will ensure enough room for school bus and fire trucks and emergency vehicles to cross the bridge. The added bike lane to this option on either side of the road to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists. Some of the advantages for this is less traffic for nearby residences, will accommodate both pedestrian and vehicular traffic, and less maintenance due to new construction. The disadvantage is it is inconvenient for motorists and local residents traveling in the opposite direction. Our estimated project cost for this option is $1.6 million. The second option is a full replacement option again, replacing the 1-lane bridge with a 2-lane vehicle bridge. Chandler Mill Road approaches will have to get widened, and the bridge itself will be wider than the existing roadway. Again, we plan to replace it with a single-span multi-girder steel superstructure with concrete abutments and wing walls. Again, we would reuse the existing through girders on the outside to keep an historic element. For PennDOT, the minimum curb-to-curb width of a 2-lane bridge is 28 feet for the average daily traffic of this road. We don't show it, but bike lanes and or sidewalks can be added to this option as well. We understand that it has been argued by local residents that making the bridge wider with 2-way traffic will increase the amount of traffic, especially truck traffic. Another concern is that a wider bridge will allow vehicles to drive faster over the bridge. However, it could be also argued that Chandler Mill Road has its own traffic calming measures. On either side of the bridge, north of the bridge is a sharp bend, and south of the bridge is the stop sign. The estimated construction cost for that one was $1.81 million. The third option is to convert the existing bridge to a pedestrian and bicycle bridge only. Chandler Mill Road will have to be bridged with cul-de-sac north of the bridge. This option is a rehabilitation. It can be done due to reduced loading of both by pedestrian and bicycle traffic. With this option, we recommend replacing the steel floor beams due to section loss and corrosion, but the existing girders, wing walls, and abutments will be rehabilitated. The advantages of this are the least expensive option, less traffic and vehicular noise for local residents, and it will keep the existing bridge components intact for the historical significance. Some of the disadvantages are combination of options 2 and 3. It is a 2-lane vehicle bridge and pedestrian bicycle bridge. Chandler Mill Road will be realigned to the east. It will move traffic further away from the open space to the west of the existing bridge to build a new 2-lane vehicular bridge. The existing bridge will be rehabilitated for pedestrian and bicycle use only. Again, it's recommended that to replace the steel floor beams, but rehab the girders and wing walls. Again, the proposed 2-lane bridge would be 28 feet wide, and the existing bridge used for pedestrian and bicyclists would keep the 15.9 feet width. This would provide a separate path for pedestrians and bicyclists and would help preserve the wildlife and recreational uses for the adjacent property. The advantages of this option is that federal highway and that funding can be used for the new bridge, safer for pedestrians and people using the bridge for recreational purposes. Disadvantage is that it is the most costly option and it's double the maintenance of these 2 bridges, and the easement would have to be acquired through the easement plan. The 5th and last option is to
Jessica, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Chief is here. Can I interrupt you for him to make a statement? It seems like that might be the right place between the conclusion of one option and into the 5th. We want to introduce everybody to the fire chief for the Kansas Fire Company, Steve Belton. Thank you.
Steve Belton, Fire Chief of the Kansas Fire Company. Steve, M-E-L-T-O-N. Sorry I'm late. We have a couple swiftwater rescues we had to deal with the last couple hours. So, I'm here just to give some mileage and some facts about the area and the bridge of concern and some houses on Chandler Mill Road in the area. Whether the bridge opens or closes, we will deal with it, but I want to give you facts on time and miles going around and for the bridge. So, for Kansas Fire Company to respond to the area, if we leave our station and we proceed down South Street, Chandler Mill Road to the bridge, it takes us about 8 minutes and 16 seconds at approximately 3.6 miles. And this is driven by myself and my chief's car. No lights or sirens, going the speed limit. The closest fire hydrant to the bridge is 1.1 mile away at Oriole Drive and Chandler Mill Road. And that's one route we did. The other route that we also want to drive is we run South Street to K01 Road and through Round Hill Road down to the area, which takes us about 8 minutes and 30 seconds at 3.8 miles. The other route would be South Street, K01 Road, Bucktown Road to the bridge. That was 6 minutes, 34 seconds at 3.6 miles. Just remember, this is in my expedition, not a 40-ton vehicle that we will also be driving. A 40-ton vehicle will not go down these roads as fast, and if they do, they're much more dangerous, and we don't drive like that. So, just in my expedition, that's where we went. You can see the K01 Road to the Chandler Mill Road Bridge is our fastest route of travel. The last 2 houses on the corner of Chandler Mill Road, I believe it's 541 and 539, and there's another one, 535, past Round Hill. Our fastest route of travel for medical emergencies or structure fires in that area is K01 Road going over the bridge, and aid companies responding to that area, which are Hocassin, which is actually closer than we are, and Avondale. There are two main mutual aid companies responding for EMS calls and fire calls. Longwood will also be coming in from the other way, but my two biggest concerns were Avondale and Hocassin. Avondale Fire Department is located on Route 41 in Newport Gap Pike. For their route of travel to that area, they would run New Garden Station Road, or New Garden Road, Bucktoe Road, and come all the way to Bucktoe to the bridge. That way, if they do that and went around Round Hill to get to the other side, you're looking at about a 9-minute and 30-second response time, which is 5.6 miles. If they come down to Bucktoe and Chandler Mill to the bridge and to cross at that point, you're looking at 5 minutes and about 30 seconds with 3.7 miles. And you see the delay there on your counter. Station 19, which is Hocassin, if they came Route 41 to McGovern Road, down to Keola, had to go around Round Hill to Chandler Mill Road, 8 minutes, 3 seconds at 3.8 miles. If they came the other way, McGovern Road to Chandler Mill and across at the bridge, you're looking at 5 minutes at 2.5 miles. So that's a dilemma that we deal with our mutual aid. And as everybody knows, time is in the essence for fire and EMS services for everybody. My biggest concern is if we do have an emergency down there, and we haven't, can't remember the last time we had a structure fire in that area, but it's my job as fire chief is it's not if, it's when. And we have to be prepared, and I don't, my biggest concern is the finger point. Look, fire company too long to get there. Look, this too long to get there. If we have to go down to Wine Road, Chandler Mill Road with a 40-ton truck, it's going to take us much more time to get there. It's just how physics work. So, I don't know what else you'd like to hear from me or anything else.
Monk, thank you. That's been very helpful. Can you clarify for us weight limitations concerns? So you made reference to a 40-ton vehicle, and you talked about your SUV, which I assume is not 40 tons. How about, can you tell us about other vehicles that we'd be concerned about if a bridge were built that was carrying traffic? What would it have to be able to carry in order to be helpful? So, for instance, what would an ambulance what would an ambulance weigh if it wants to, so we know how much weight the bridge has to carry?
You're looking at, say, tennis handles, anything over 26,001 pounds. Would be like an F550 Ford truck, which the chassis has. So, if you're familiar with that, that's what you're looking at. 26 to 30 pounds, 26 to 30,000 pounds for an ambulance. district, is the Delaware State line, probably about maybe 9 months or less.
The bridge has been waitlisted to 8 tons since the late 80s, early 90s, or I think it's the 1980s. What have you all been doing?
We will cross in an emergency.
Okay. So you could at any time cross it?
In an emergency.
Gwen, do you want to introduce yourself to our reporter?
Gwen Lacey, L-A-C-Y.
If something happened to that bridge while we were crossing it, we would probably love it. One of our trucks.
I didn't hear your last word.
One of our trucks probably at that point damaged the bridge when we crossed it. We would probably have been liable. We very rarely took, and back then we had lighter trucks. We recently, in 2004, got our newer trucks and we did this, but only in emergencies when trucks cross that bridge.
I think there's a question over here. You introduce yourself first and then ask questions.
Ted Moxon, M-O-X-O-N, 39 Cedarwood Lane. Could you tell us a little bit about what response times mean? Like how fast does the fire progress at a house, or when someone's having a heart attack, how quickly do you need to be there to be effective?
Fire spreads 17% every 4 minutes. 17% every 4 minutes when it gets hot. The newer homes and everything we're buying in our homes, plastic and stuff nowadays, they're burning much hotter. The newer homes being built aren't being built as they have been back in the years past. A lot of homes are being built with trusses, which are just basically metal anchorings with staples and nails to them, and once the trusses burn through, we get catastrophic collapse in the house. That's what's hurting the firefighters. It also makes a lot of glue. So time is of the essence for us. For us to get to a person have a coronary, but we need to get there, we need to get to them in AED, get breathing within the first 5-6 minutes.
This is Chris Burkett, B-U-R-K-E-T-T, 818 Williams Lane. I just wanted to kind of go through a summary of your travel times. As I understood your comments, for you to leave from your station going either route is really no difference in the travel time for the most part, very little, maybe a few seconds. And that your concern was with the travel time for mutual aid from Hockessin and Avondale. And in that case, Avondale, the fact that the bridge may not be open might add as much as 5 minutes to their travel time and as much as 3 minutes to Hockessin's response time to that area.
Yeah, Avondale's is about the 9-minute 30 mark and 5:30 mark, and then we go back all the way around. And Hockessin's approximately 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa, did you have a question again? Oh, I'm
Gwen,
sorry,
Gwen.
Lacey.
Gwen.
Gwen Lacey.
No, we met with Bruce Mitchell down at the bridge a couple years ago, a year ago, I guess, when the pedestrian was first proposed to open as pedestrian. And we actually have a slide later that will show, and then we spoke about this as well, dry hydrants, parking on the other side of the bridge. There's a lot of ways around this. So at the time, the idea was, and in the JMT comments to the 106, the Kennett Fire Company had stated that it was ideal but not necessary. Like, it would be ideal for you to have the bridge, but it's not necessary. And the others are 4, 5, 2, 3, 4 alarm fires. Is that correct?
Once again, I'm not here to say whether, we will pre-plan around what we have to pre-plan. I'm not here to say close it or open. I just want to give what it's going to take us to get there, and there are a lot. So, dry hydrants help. On the other side of the bridge on Buckner Road, there are certain areas that we can get our hard suction
pedestrians, you could go over it if you needed to. You have before.
Yeah, but the state has really cracked down. They're making us get permits to cross bridges.
Okay.
Okay. This is for, they just put it on, people notice, they just put weight limits on a lot of bridges in this area. We have, as emergency responders, we have to get permits to cross the bridge. Like I said, I'm not here to open the thing.
I understand. Are there any other questions for this presenter? Monk, thank you very much, particularly on a very busy night. Thank you very much. Jessica, you want to come on back? I think that you were about to start option 5.
Option 5 is to rehabilitate the existing one-lane bridge, with, keep it as one lane. The existing bridge would be used for, vehicular use as it is now. The superstructure and the bridge deck would still have to be replaced, due to the deteriorating condition of it. We would recommend changing superstructure type from floor beams to stringers in order to increase the load capacity. So it could carry vehicles like the fire trucks and school buses and other emergency vehicles. Like before, the existing through girders on the exterior faces would be rehabbed and remain as static elements of this. The substructure would be rehabilitated itself, which would be a lot of work due to its current condition, but it is possible. Chandler Mill Road will remain a 2-lane. Per PennDOT, the existing bridge can remain in place without widening if the road is classified as a local road, as this is, and there are no safety problems encountered, since there are no there's no accidents or anything documented from the past. We don't see any safety problems. This applies to deck replacements and partial superstructure replacements. It will remain a 1-lane bridge with a total roadway width of 15.9. The advantages of this, again, is that PennDOT funding can be used since the bridge will be open to vehicular traffic. Some of the disadvantages are it will not accommodate pedestrians or bicyclists due to the narrow width of it. It's not favorable for the longevity of the bridge due to the age of the superstructure. Rehabilitating a substructure will create additional maintenance in the future since the age of the elements are not changing. And our past experience with bridge rehab have revealed unanticipated findings during construction, causing additional and unforeseen costs. The estimated construction cost for this option is $750,000. In summary, all the options presented tonight aim to maintain the historical elements of the existing bridge while ensuring the safety of motorists and pedestrians. Option 1 proposes to replace the existing bridge with a new 1-lane vehicle bridge. The estimated project cost of this is $1.6 million. Option 2 proposes to replace the existing bridge with a 2-lane vehicle bridge. The estimated project cost of this one is $1.1 million. Option 3 proposes to rehabilitate the existing bridge for pedestrian and bicycle use only. The estimated construction cost of this is $570,000. Option 4 is a combination of options 2 and 3, and it proposes to rehabilitate the
supervisor may have some more questions for you, and then we'll open it up to the community to ask you some questions. Can you speak on the question of load bearing? You heard the questions that were addressed to the fire chief as to the weight of his vehicles and whether a bridge, what would a bridge have to be able to carry in order to satisfy his needs. Can you give us for each of the 5 options, what the load carrying capability would be for them?
For all of the options, for the 2 full replacement options, they would meet NDOT regulations, which would ensure school buses, fire trucks, emergency vehicles, they would all cross over the bridge with no problem.
How much would they weigh? More than 30 tons, presumably. More than 30 ton capacity.
Yes. For 36, believe tons. The pedestrian bridge obviously won't allow any vehicles over it. The 2 lanes, the new bridge for option 4 would be the same as the new bridges. That would be 36 tons again. And option 5, we suggested changing the superstructure type in order to allow emergency vehicles to cross over it and increase the load capacity. Because how it is wouldn't be much more than 8 tons that the superstructure is now.
So if you kept it as it is now, that would be around 8 tons. And is that what was, I'm focusing on, I'm not sure I can put my hands on it real quickly, but I thought that your language in your report was that on option 5, it would meet all safety requirements, or something to that effect.
If the superstructure height is changed.
If the superstructure was,
So if you use stringers instead of wood instead of now.
so we could, under option 5, are you telling us that it could be made more load capable than as it was originally? And would it still remain looking like the historic bridge?
Yeah, like the other option, we could keep the through girders on the outside just so that it don't.
Okay.
Clarifying that, so on option 5, are you not certain of the weight ton limit and that you list everything off and take a look, or?
As it is now, or
No, if option 5 were to be chosen, what would the weight limit be if you did the rehabilitation and change the?
we change the structure type. We didn't do any design on it, but most likely it would be according to PennDOT standards, so it would be the full 36 tons.
Is that the option 5 that's presented, or that's the variation on option 5? I'm not understanding.
No, our recommendation is to change the superstructure,
Okay, so
so it will carry that load.
So it would carry that load. So for $750,000 plus some contingency,
Right.
the weight limit would be more than 8 tons.
Yes, enough to carry fire trucks and emergency.
On a night like this, I'm reminded, do we have to be concerned with the stream in terms of any of the 5 options? Should things be done to address the flow of the stream for any of these options?
It can be looked into to raise the bridge due to its close proximity to Buffalo Road. Don't know how feasible that will be, but it's definitely
there any thought as to the need to widen the rest of Chandler Mill to take into consideration the bridge structure?
Just the approaches leading up to here, they could be tapered, if the width of Chandler Mill Road, north of the bridge can stay as is, the approaches don't have to be, wider to accommodate the wider bridge.
Okay.
like you're gonna look into it anyway, so you can do that.
Okay. I believe, Mike, you had your hand up?
Yes,
Name?
I'm Michael Gutman. Yes, I'm Michael Gutman, and I'm at 14, guy's name, Guttman, and I'm at 14 Nine Gates Road. My question had to do with, an option that's not on here. And that is where the bridge, essentially with the option 5 from a construction point of view, but option 3 from a deployment point of view. So, in other words, the bridge would be built to the specification where it can carry the loads necessary for emergency vehicles and so forth. But it would be constituted and deployed as a pedestrian and bicycle bridge. Now, the reason I brought this up is it seems to me that many of the complaints that have to do with the pedestrian bridge center around emergency response. Whereas on the other hand, many of the complaints that have to do with either the replacement or the rehabilitation center around the idea of maintenance costs, traffic noise, in the case of number 5, the inability of it to especially handle pedestrians and bicyclists. So I was wondering why we haven't considered the possibility of essentially option 5, but deployed as option 3, and if you saw any particular problems or issues with that.
The cost would go up, obviously.
Right, but the purpose of that would be to accommodate the emergency vehicles and address those questions.
Certainly possible.
But other than that, you wouldn't see any, there wouldn't be any particular issues if the township decided to constitute it as a pedestrian bicycle bridge.
It would, in my opinion, it would be a little hard to ensure that no other vehicles go over that, other than emergency vehicles. But from a structural standpoint, no.
Mike, can you come down and use this mic down here?
Sure.
And would you explain in your question what is to be gained by doing essentially 5, but doing it as a combination of 3 and 4? Why would you maintain a pedestrian bike bridge, but rehab it so that it could carry 12, 15 tons or more?
Right. Well, because when you look at these options, okay, there are on the one hand complaints that have to do primarily with access by emergency vehicles. Okay? So what I'm suggesting is that asking that it should be a possible option
Microphone, please, Joe.
Joe Duffy, number 2, Black Rock. My question was simply, in your cost and design criteria, have you considered the use of box culverts in series in order to reduce costs?
name's Tim Jones, and this is for now. With option 6, Tim Jones with 539 Chandler Road.
There is no option 6.
I'm going to,
We've got 5 options on the table.
if there were an option 6, just one question, you could use breakaway bollards to block vehicular access that then fire trucks, emergency vehicles could easily knock down and go across the bridge. Could you?
The opposite, other vehicles, vehicles using.
Okay, I just want to know what that would help.
Any other questions for this presenter? Yes.
Chris Burkett again, B-U-R-K-E-T-T at 818 Williams Lane. I think you mentioned something about the bridge being in a flood district, and there is a 100-year floodplain there. How much higher than the 100-year surface water elevation would the bridge deck need to be? Like what kind of freeboard would be necessary from that maximum surface water elevation to the bridge deck?
We haven't looked at any of the hydraulics for this bridge yet. This is just a feasibility study.
Well, the stream corridor is a studied stream, so there are flood elevations on the stream corridor.
Right.
So, okay, I understand that they need to do additional study, but your option 3, the Chandler Mill Road cul-de-sac, and option 4, where you would build the new approach road and the new bridge, both of those are in flood district overlays within the township zoning ordinance. And there's a prohibition for disturbance in a flood hazard district. How would that be dealt with, the local zoning issue relative to those two options?
None of that has been looked into as far as this feasibility study goes. So if that, one of those options are chosen, then we can look into it further. But right now, I don't know anything about the hydraulics or any of that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your input. I understand that Sandy Martin from the county is here, and I just wanted to say hello to her. She wasn't coming to make a presentation, although she's certainly welcome to if she wanted to make any comments. And if there are any questions for her, I believe she would entertain questions, but I just wanted to say hello and welcome her. Let me call on Tom Jenkins from the school district.
Good evening, Tom Jenkins, T-O-M-J-E-N-K-I-N-S. I'm sure all of us have followed one of our 71 school buses that we have throughout our district. If the bridge was open, I averaged about 6 buses in the morning and 6 in the afternoon that would be using the bridge, which equals just about 3,500 miles a year, probably about $2,000 in fuel that it would save. Also, in case you're wondering, a school bus weighs 20,000 pounds, which is 10 tons, and it's licensed at 30,000 pounds, at 15 tons. We haven't used the bridge since it was lowered the weight limit, I believe, in the 80s. And I don't have to do much other than that. Most important, when we do our routes at the beginning of every school year, the one thing we look at, other than safety, is the shortness of the route. And if the bridge was open, it would save time on a lot of the bus routes that come from the Hartwell area.
Let me ask if I may, and thank you for that presentation. The 10 tons to 15 ton school bus you're talking about, that's a standard size
That's a full-size, 72-passenger bus, 40 feet long, 8 feet wide. Full-size, 72-passenger, 40 feet long, 8 feet wide.
Is there an accommodation that could be worked out so that if the bridge were rehabbed back to 12-ton capacity, can you get a smaller bus to do the work that one of those larger buses would do?
Not really, no. The smaller buses are used for special needs and some of the private schools. So there would probably be about 3 buses per day, so it would be smaller ones.
So there's nothing other than a very
Yeah.
van type of bus
Right.
and a full auxiliary bus.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Rich, any questions?
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Yes.
Just one question. What, the bus itself weighs 20,000 pounds, what does it generally weigh fully loaded?
Bus of elementary can handle up to 72 students, middle school and high school, about 50. So you're looking, depends how big the kids are. Real big kids, it might be up to 4,000 pounds. So it's right around the 20,000 pound area. They're just tagged out to 31,000, that's for the real big kids.
So that's how you got the 10 tons.
Right.
Okay, and if you really factor.
Yeah, the actual legal weight, you can't go over the 30.
Any other questions? All the way in the back, yes.
Yes, my question
You
is,
have to come up and use the microphone, please.
maybe I can project enough?
No, microphone, please. We have a large room and lots of people, and you're speaking to the back of their heads.
I really have a question as to the usage of the bridge in the past for bus usage. And typically, let's say when the bridge was still in its prime, how many school buses passed along that road, typically, or not?
That was, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the reason being is that maybe, I'm just fearful that we're trying to use the bridge for so many things, when the bridge at this point is defunct until we do something with it, and everybody has a use for it. But there are certain things perhaps that it can and cannot sustain, even in the best of times. So that was my question.
When the bus was last, or the bridge was last used for school buses, was in the mid-'80s. We were under 3,000 students, which we only had 25 school buses. So I'm sure there wasn't probably more than 2 a day, or 2 per route, morning and afternoon that were used.
And
Now we're up to 5,000 students on transport.
And until when were you actually transporting them across Chandler?
Right when they lowered the weight limit,
So it was in the 80s?
in the mid-'80s.
That was
Like that,
the
yeah.
Just asking if it also ended in the 80s.
Yes,
And
it
the
did.
80s and ended.
Whenever I'm not sure the date, but whenever the limit was date.
Rich, did you have another question? Yes. Okay. Any other questions for this witness? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out. Got up for you. Are there any other emergency providers or to present? If not, then I think that the next presentation, this is an unusual one. This is the Land Trust is going to present, and it was going to be 3 different presentations. We consolidated it into one presentation, but as a consequence, it's going to be a little longer than the requested 5 minutes. So, as you watch your watch and you look at the rules, understand that it was really originally 3 different presentations. Come on up, Wynn.
Bridge a community asset? Okay. My name is Gwen Lacy, Land Conservancy for Southern Chester County, representing the Chandler Mill Bridge Consortium. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to thank the supervisors. It's been 9 years since 2005 when Tom Mills walked out and asked what was happening with the bridge. A group of engineers were there and they said we're going to demolish it and put up a new. Sounds like I've been talking for 2 minutes.
I've been waiting all day for here to me,
No rush, Gwen. Take your time so we can get you down, so everybody can hear you clearly.
Okay. Where should I get that up at this point? Well, we want to thank the supervisors now for showing what we had found in 2007 through your engineer's report, that it is feasible to have a rehabilitation of the bridge and open the bridge. Next. The consortium sees only 2 rehabilitation choices. Number 1, pedestrian bicycle bridge. And you can read that. And we've heard the presentation. Number 2, existing 1-lane bridge status quo as it is now, rehabilitated as a 1-lane vehicular bridge. Kennet Township owns 6 bridges, 4 of which that are shown here. All of them standard highway bridges. No sense that you are traveling over water. For the most part, an extension of the road. Next. What does a new 2-lane bridge with pedestrian, bicycle, and equine access look like? Well, we went and saw a few of them. This one is in the White Clay Creek next to 2,072 acres of open space next to 2 horse farms that used to access the White Clay Creek easily until this new 2-lane bridge was put in. Granted, it was done and there was a design exception, and they allowed for a 4-foot 9-inch on either side shoulder. You can see that painted on the left. That was when it was new back this fall. The photo on the right is within the last few weeks. It's become a dangerous afterthought. Lines are gone, no one walks on it. We were walking on it, you see what cars did. Same thing with the bridge, another new bridge, Pickering Creek Bridge that you may have seen on a flyer that was distributed this past weekend. Same idea. Not conducive to pedestrians. Next. One thing that we need to keep in mind here is this is a historic bridge. We will rehabilitate historic homes. It can be done. We wouldn't be Chester County without our rehabilitated historic buildings and structures. It was built in 1910 on the National Register of Historic Places, so it does have federal protection. Integral part of the proposed Red Clay West Branch Historic District, a planned locally designated historic district. Within the area of this bridge, we have a Civil War, African American Civil War cemetery. We have a mill race. We have another National Register site, and we also have a historical architect who can speak to any of the other historic, what is planned in this historic district, what we have there. Next. Since the bridge was closed in 2011 on May 6th, daily activity on Chandler Mill Road, there's been a huge influx of local hikers, dog walkers, runners, bikers, birders, and outdoor enthusiasts. In fact, Chandler Mill Bridge welcomes visitors all year long, as you can see by the shoveling of it during our snow this winter. Next. This is part of a larger conservation
Corridor. The map that you're looking at there, this Red Clay Creek Conservation Corridor was started back in the 1980s, about the time school buses were no longer driving across the bridge. This started with about 60-some acres and has been added to over time. All the green is current conserved land. The red is pending, depending on what happens with the bridge. You can see the Chandler Mill Bridge down at the lower southern area. It's marked. Largest contiguous preserved area in Kennett Township with over 500 acres. Over $11 million in current dollars to date have been invested in open space, historic preservation, and trail creation. Next. The Chandler Mill Bridge is the keystone to this area. It's the base of the Red Clay Creek Conservation Corridor, as I just pointed out. It's part of the Red Clay Greenway Trail, and it's included on the Chester County Commissioners Bikeway Network. And that is evidenced by the number of bikers that we have gotten to sign on and have written statements, signed petitions, hikers, walkers. You live in this area. You are truly blessed. Next. What is the Red Clay Greenway? The Red Clay Greenway is a 10-mile loop trail in and out of the Kennett Borough. The trail is, let's go to the next slide. Kennett Township and the borough in 1993 divides the Red Clay Greenway Trail. In 1993, it's outlined here. You can see the same outline. Things like the Anson B. Nixon Park, things like the Y, were all ideas back then. And they've all come to fruition as the Red Clay Greenway Trail is now. Next. Here's the Red Clay Greenway plan. And as you can see, red is the existing trails. Green is the existing preserved trails. And yellow, what does it say there? I can't read it. Proposed trails. And the green and yellow are going together. But so right now, if you were to go to Pennock Park and park your car either at Pennock Field or over at the sewage treatment center where the borough put in 4 parking spaces and a trailhead, you get out of your car and walk down onto Chandler Mill Bridge, Chandler Mill Road, about a mile and a quarter right now. And then, so there's pieces that are already done, and then there's others, the green, that are already there. They're already there. So there's a lot of this that's been done and is underway. There's a lot of funding, as you can tell, that's been committed to this. A lot of it is, this is all done with private funding so far. Not a dime to the township. Next. And some county funding. Mainly private. Part of an eastern connection. Longwood Gardens, the Coxton Trail Network, the Struble, the Chester Valley Trail, the Schuylkill River Trail, on to Philadelphia and Harrisburg. Trails are a hot trend. Not even a trend. Trails are happening. And the Red Clay Greenway is part of it. The western connection. Next slide, please. This runs from the White Clay Creek Loop, which is already there, the yellow. West Grove, White Clay Creek to Fair Hill to the East Coast Greenway. Part of a much larger plan. Next. The Chandler Mill Bridge is already used as a pedestrian multi-use trail bridge. It's become an integral segment of the Red Clay Greenway trail system. Why not keep it that way? Next. And I'll tell you another one. Why not? Not just because of trails, but because through the generosity of some private individuals, if this is made a pedestrian, if we open it to pedestrians only, there'll be a parking picnic area donated, safe access to the Red Clay Greenway Trail, a view of the historic bridge, and a spot for Bucktoe Creek Preserve, which I forgot to mention is a 300-acre nature preserve bordered on Sharp, Bucktoe, and Chandler Mill Road with the adjacent to the bridge. Next. Chandler Mill Cul-de-sac. met with Steve Melton, I think deputy chief, and got the idea of emergency vehicle access to include dry hydrants. And you can see it's all been drawn out, it's all been sketched out here. Turnaround area built to township standards, raised stone cable wires, and clear vegetation as needed. We also have letters of intent for every landowner that would be affected.
When you have to slow down, I've asked you 5 times, you're passionate.
All right. I can give you a copy of it. I'll give you a copy of everything. Oh, yeah.
Word for word?
Yeah. So the Chandler Mill Bridge emergency access. Raised stone cable wires, clear vegetation is needed. I think it should be pointed out that everything over there is in a floodplain. The bridge right now is in a floodplain, so anything that would have to be done. Benefits to a pedestrian bridge. According to the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, return on the environment, homes within close proximity to open space and trails see an increase in value of $10,000 on average. Cost saves taxpayers the cost of replacement, increased road maintenance, liability, and future replacement. And these are all local photos. These are all people that live on the road, live adjacent to the road, come over to walk in the area. Next. Scenic. Preserves the semi-rural feel of Kennett Township and its largest contiguous conservation corridor. Safety. Decrease in traffic involving Chandler Mill Road, permitting safer access for Kennett Township residents, and access to the Red Clay Greenway Trail. History. Part of a larger local historic district, the story of our time. I'd like to point out that if you go on any of the townships in Chester County's websites, and you look at the photos, they're all historic and open space. Now, I give my staff a hard time, a lot of them are millennials, about what are we doing in our virtual time, with our Facebook. How many people are we really reaching? Well, what I'm fearful of is a Chester County that's becoming what we see on everyone's township websites are all these beautiful open spaces and historic structures, but what we meet in reality is not. So history. This is part of a larger local historic district and a story of our time. Next. Recreation. Access for public to parking and picnic areas as part of the linear park. Trails will be installed. Land will be donated. There'll be a small parking area, maybe 2, one on Sharp Road as well. We hold easements in this area. Not all the land is eased. Environment. Avoid fragmentation of habitat and migratory routes for birds and wildlife. Reduction in noise, pollution, and roadside trash. Since the road has been closed, barred owls returned to the Chandler Mill, to the Bucktook Creek Reserve after a 15-year absence. In the last year, there's now 2, and they're nesting. That's one of many examples. It's an important bird area designated by Audubon. Next. We realize that it is going to take courage, foresight, and vision to support the preservation of the Chandler Mill Bridge as a keystone in this amazing trail system and planned linear park. invested over $11 million. We can either destroy that by opening the road to two-lane traffic, 6 school buses a day, trucks for the, going up the road to South Street. Or we can take back our back roads one at a time. How many of you are on back roads and there's bicycles, there's joggers, there's not enough room for 2 cars sometimes, it feels like. Let's take back our back roads. Let's preserve our quality of life in Kennett Township. We're asking you, this is a courageous act. We're asking you to have the vision. And think about 7 generations down from here. It's a lot more than just a bridge. It's a way of life. Thank you.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Couple of questions for you. All right, so first I want to, first thing I want to do is ask you to define what a linear park is.
Oh, good question. Thanks. A linear park would basically be along the road. So it would be going along Chandler Mill within a certain amount, I don't know how many feet in, but parallel to the road, linear, as in linear feet, as opposed to squares.
Okay. And then going back to, I think, your third slide, only 2 rehabilitation choices. And number 1 was a pedestrian bicycle bridge. And I wanted to confirm with you, is that the same as the option 3 of the engineering report?
Yes, and the other is option 5.
And the other one, existing 1-lane bridge, is the same as the option 5?
Yes.
Okay. So can you explain, if you know, does the current township comprehensive plan address the corridor and bridge that you've been talking about?
As far as I know, we've been sent drafts that we looked over, and the Red Clay Greenway was an integral part of it, yes.
Okay. And then, can you clarify for me, you presented on the Red Clay Greenway Trail system as if it was only the option of a pedestrian bicycle bridge. And my question is, if the bridge carried traffic, can it still be a part of the Red Clay Greenway Trail system?
This proposal and the donation of land and trails, the land for the trails, the parking, the picnic, would only be part of a pedestrian, open for pedestrian only.
By whom or what is that defined?
That is defined by the people that own the land and that would be donating it, gifting it to the residents.
But there's nothing in the Red Clay Greenway Trail system, as opposed to those who own the land, who are residents there, that says you can't do it. It's just the residents who would say, well, we're not going to give you the land if you do it this way.
Well, there's a couple different things. The Red Clay Greenway along Chandler Mill Road is a very narrow road. And some places, the creek comes up within a foot. So you would need the shoulder of the road to really complete the trail in a lot of those segments. One other part is under conservation easement that does not allow public access. So we would amend the easement. So there's a lot that would go into creating this park, and it would be a gift to the township, which is huge. I mean, I know townships that would be lining up for this. We're talking millions, a lot of money.
That answers my questions. Rich, Bob, do you have questions or comments?
Gwen, you help me understand, so our option 3, which is your 1, or is
me out with this. Sid is the 106 consultant for PennDOT for the federal cost. Go ahead.
I'm Sydney, S-I-D-N-E-Y, new, N-E-W.
One more time, the Trinity Living Capital Repair Individual, Sydney what?
New, N-E-W. And I'm PennDOT's project manager for this project. In terms of the funding, we have had preliminary discussions with the Federal Highway Administration. And they have told us that if the county chooses, or the township were to take ownership of the bridge, they choose to change the current scope of the project, to change it to being a pedestrian-only bridge, and change the project purpose and need to state that that would be the purpose of the project. The federal highway or another federal funding source would be available to pay for the conversion of the bridge to be pedestrian-only. I want to clarify one thing. If the bridge is converted to be pedestrian only, whoever assumes ownership of the bridge, that bridge comes off the federal and state highway system, which means that any future maintenance or repairs to the bridge would not be eligible for federal highway funding or PennDOT funding.
In your earlier question, sir, about rehabbing a one-lane bridge, would that be funded?
Are you speaking about option 5?
Yeah.
I am not sure if option 5 would receive federal and/or state funding. The average daily traffic currently on the bridge is higher than what PennDOT states in their design manual is available for a rehabilitated one-lane bridge. So I cannot answer that for sure. No.
I want to